Hey everybody, it's Teepa. And this morning we're going to talk about a difficult and very challenging situation. And for me, what I have is someone who wants to be a care partner being directed by somebody who's very used to being a caregiver and actually a medical provider who's into wanting to give care or direct care or say what should be done without really trying to put together a package of care that actually is going to work and work well for everybody involved. So, I'm going to give you the question that came in. It's fairly complex and long, but it's important to understand the context and why we came up with the caregiver guide and turned it into the care partner guide and emphasize the idea that when someone is living with dementia, things do need to change, including medical supervision and guidance, I believe. So I'm going to emphasize a couple of pieces. And one that I want to highlight a bit is in our book, we are going to be talking about the idea of the six pieces of the puzzle and gem states. So in this situation, we have a daughter caring for mom. And the problem that we have going on is that the medical provider had an incident. Mom had mistaken her meds. She made a mistake. She was overtaking them and she ended up in the hospital. The physician decided she needs somebody monitoring and making sure her meds are being taken as they should. Now, mom still lives alone. Daughter lives a few blocks away and is trying to provide support and care for mom. Mom wants to live alone. As a matter of fact, it's an advance directive. She wants to stay on her own. She doesn't want people taking over for her, which really makes it quite difficult for the daughter to be in a partnership with mom when that's mom's desire and expectation is to stay in her own home and to do things her way. So the physician determined after this that there would be a social work consult. The social worker came out, and together the physician and the social worker determined that mom needed a medication dispenser. Um, Unfortunately, neither of them took responsibility for installing and making sure mom knew how to use the new medication dispenser. They left that to the daughter. So mom was not at all happy about the medication dispenser and put the blame firmly on the daughter and in fact changed the relationship the daughter had with mom. Up to that point, although it hadn't been rosy and wonderful at all times, daughter had been able to provide support and get mom mostly the kinds of things that she needed done. Daughter is healthcare power of attorney. Daughter was coming in through the garage and making sure that things were happening. Mom has since disabled the garage door opener. Mom still makes her own meals, still not with the oven or with the stove, with a microwave. Mom has lost driving privileges due to the physician determining mom's not safe to drive. So up till now, daughter had been providing some of that, and there was a home health person involved. Mom now is refusing the home health aid. And the physician who has been involved indicates now mom needs 24/7 support. So this is a mess. We have a real mess. And what we really have is we have a problem with pieces of the puzzle. We have someone who simply wants this to not be a problem and thinks it can happen by forcing change, by not getting agreements, by not creating opportunities for conversations that can resolve things, by not recognizing mom is a mature adult. And although, yes, she has dementia, she still has a right to raise her voice, her opinion. She still has a right to refuse treatment. And she is. Unfortunately, the physician is about 5 steps away from this refusal of treatment and has apparently, sounds like, very little awareness of their role in how this all came down. So now we have a daughter who is not really at this point able to do care partnering with mom because mom no longer trusts and believes in the daughter. And daughter was simply trying to enact what the physician had determined mom needed. Now, daughter's incredibly concerned that she will not be able to help her mom fulfill her advance directive, which is to stay in her own home. And this came about because we have someone who's not looking at six pieces of the puzzle. All they see is the person and their brain changes and the health changes, and we'll just fix that. We'll fix that by changing how we do things, and someone else will take charge of that. And I think that's unfair. I think it's unwise and I think it's unreasonable. And I'd be happy to tell anyone in a position of power that that's not going to work well. And to demand something that somebody needs 24/7, unless you have resources and the ability to make sure that happens, and then to get the person to be agreeable to 24/7 care, it's not as easy as it sounds. So it's easy to write orders. It's less easy to make sure life happens for people who've had those orders written. So, my best guess, let's get a little more curious. Let's do a little more digging. Because I think what's happening is mom is going from a diamond state when she could manage her meds to an emerald state where she's struggling. I think the loss of ability to drive changed a lot of things and a lot of dynamics. And it was not the easiest or best thing. A letter to the DMV is one way to get that to happen, but it doesn't necessarily sound like the physician did some homework about having a conversation with several people. So, what do I think makes more sense? I think learning more about Emerald State and how to support someone in Emerald State would be super important. But for the daughter, I also think recognizing we're working with a medical provider who is very diamond like and maybe reading up on diamond state distress and frustration and what you do when you're in a diamond state to get your way. And that's not about dementia. That's about wanting what you want when you want it and using authority. And when someone's in an emerald state and they're confronted by someone who does that, it is not at all uncommon if they themselves had been an authority figure to get pushback. At this point, the daughter has a hard time being Sapphire, understandably. So perhaps further conversation with those around you or with us to explore how could you use your pipes? How could you look at what you can do as a care partner and recognize, wow, I do want to care partner with my mom, and I'm having a very difficult time doing that when I have a giver of information, a giver of opinion, a giver of orders, and they're not doing the care. So I'm going to pause here because I think it's time for a pause. And I think it's time to really consider who all are you trying to support and how, and could you use some help? And I think it sounds like maybe you could. For those of you out there who are dealing with really challenging, complex situations and you don't feel like you're getting the right kind of help or support you need, you're not alone. Hopefully, the conversations that we have, the ways that we approach things might be helpful to you because we believe by pausing, taking a step back, and really thinking through the entire situation, we can quit pointing fingers at the person living with dementia and start realizing, wow, if I have somebody who knows how to trigger something into happening, maybe the person I need to be really looking at is the person who's doing the triggering, because that's an option. Till next time, take care of yourself, take care with your care. And I hate that it's happening, but sometimes bad things do happen and we have to figure it out. Till next time, take care.